Hello my fellow oddities and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be doing something actually different for a change. Yes, that's right. A fresh, unique video idea that isn't just a design ranking video or an adaptation arena or a playing Mortal Kombat Armageddon, because it feels like ever since Mortal Kombat 1 came out, that's just all I've been doing on loop over and over and over again for however many months it's been. But today we're going to be doing something that I haven't actually seen anyone else do, and that's placing the Mortal Kombat characters into Lantern Corps. For any non-DC fans, the Lantern Corps, brought down to their simplest explanation, are a bunch of teams out in space that recruit members from all across the universe based on which emotion is the most prominent within them. So each team has sort of a different center and emotion, and that'll give them powers and abilities like the standard stuff, flight, durability, strength, stuff like that, as well as a ring that'll allow them to create anything that they can imagine. And there are a lot of Lantern Corps, but we're going to be focusing on the main ones today, and those are... This is the wrong side of the box. And those are the Green Lantern Corps of Willpower, the main one, the best one, the White Lantern Corps of Life, the Black Lantern Corps of Death, the Indigo Lantern Corps of Compassion, the Blue Lantern Corps of Hope, the Violet Lantern Corps of Love, the Red Lantern Corps of Rage, the Orange Lantern Corps of Avarice, the Yellow Lantern Corps of Fear, and there's also one more which isn't a part of this box set, which, by the way, super cool, I got it for Christmas, and that is the Ultraviolet Lantern Corps, which is a bit more recent, it's a bit less popular, and the emotion tied around it is, well, it's not really one specific emotion, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's more vague. I guess the best way to describe it is that it's just like those deep, self-destructive, hateful, bottled up emotions that people have, usually after some sort of traumatic event, and this Lantern Corps will bring out all of those emotions to the limelight for everyone to see. And yeah, this video took a turn. But with that being said, let's get into which of these Lantern Corps the Mortal Kombat characters belong in.
Scorpion.
The poster boy of Mortal Kombat, and we all know which Lantern Corps he belongs in, but just for the sake of it, let's talk about some other possibilities. Firstly, one that people might not think of straight away, but is sort of obvious in further thought, is the Black Lantern Corps of Death. In order to be a part of this Lantern Corps, you have to have either died or be obsessed with death, and while Scorpion isn't really obsessed with death, I mean, yes, his whole goal is to kill a person, but it's more so the revenge, the getting back at someone that wronged you, more so than like, I just love death and I want to do it because it's fun or whatever. But Scorpion has died. That's one of his main characteristics. He was a normal person who died, went to the Netherrealm, became a Spectre, and the rest is history. So it's definitely one that he could be a part of, but we're mainly focusing on personality here, so I don't really think it's fair to give him the Death Lantern Corps when there's probably other Lantern Corps that more fit his actual character. Another possibility is the Ultraviolet Lantern Corps, because wife died, child died, clan died, he died, basically everyone he knows died. So yeah, I would imagine there are some deep traumatic emotions there, but I think this one mostly works for the more modern version of the character, the Hanzo Asashi version of the character, who has kind of moved past revenge, but still does have those emotions deep within him. So I feel like the Ultraviolet Lantern Corps would be able to bring out those emotions and, you know, would make a bit more sense for that version of the character, as opposed to the classic version whose emotions are kind of just all out there. Like, you can just tell, like, wow, this person's been through a lot of trauma. And that's why I think the Lantern Corps that fits him the most is the Red Lantern Corps of Rage. I mean, yeah, every time this guy's on screen, he's always yelling, "Get over here! Vengeance will be mine! To hell with you!" So he's very clearly a very angry man, and he always wants revenge. He always wants to get back at Sub-Zero for, supposedly, killing his wife and child and his clan and all that. And so that's kind of what the Red Lantern Corps is all about. It's not just about being angry, or else there would be a lot of members, but it's mostly about lashing out at the world that they feel have unfairly wronged them in some way. And, you know, Scorpion probably definitely feels that way. So yeah, I think this one's a pretty obvious one. Scorpion, Red Lantern Corps.
Sub-Zero.
Now we have the second most popular character in all of Mortal Kombat, and the version we're going to be talking about today is my favorite character in the whole series, Bi-Han. And he's a bit more complex than Scorpion. He doesn't have one that just immediately sticks out, so we're going to have to do a little bit more digging. And one that I know people are going to say straight away that I just want to shut down right off the bat is the Indigo Lantern Corps of Compassion, because this ring, not only can you get it if you have a lot of compassion, but also if you have zero compassion. So a character like the Joker could be a part of this Lantern Corps because he has zero compassion and it would give him compassion. And so people are going to be like, oh, Bi-Han's a sociopath. He doesn't feel any compassion for anyone, so he should be in the Indigo Lantern Corps. No. And if you want to know why, go watch my video on why Mortal Kombat 1 ruined Bi-Han, because he definitely is a character that feels compassion. He has spared people in the past, he has definitely cared. He literally, in Mortal Kombat mythologies, when he learned that he has darkness in his heart, not complete darkness, but darkness just in his heart, and when he learned from Raiden that he could change it, he immediately wanted to change it. He does not want to be a bad person. If he didn't have any compassion, he just probably wouldn't care that much. But since he does have compassion, he does care and he wants to be a better person. Most of the zero compassion claims that Bi-Han gets is just because of the overall way that the Lin Kuei is, and that's the same thing with a lot of the more negative emotions, stuff like the orange lantern core of avarice, the yellow lantern core of fear that people would probably associate with Bi-Han. It's not really Bi-Han, it's more so just the Lin Kuei in general has these as like their core principles. And I feel like people just associate it immediately with Bi-Han because obviously Bi-Han grew up in the Lin Kuei, so he is going to share some of their principles because he just doesn't know any better, but inherently as a character, he does not fit either of these lantern cores or the compassion lantern core at all, in my opinion, at least. But that doesn't necessarily mean he fits any of the positive emotions either, so stuff like the blue lantern core of hope. No, not really. Green lantern core of willpower, the violet lantern core of love. I mean, he did seduce Serena, which makes him an absolute legend, but still, I don't know if it's too prominent of a character trait for him. But the lantern core that I believe Bi-Han fits the most is the ultraviolet lantern core, and that is because I think it just fits his overall character just to a T. I mean, he is stoic and emotionless because that's the way he was trained by the Lin Kuei, but that bring up, that raising by the Lin Kuei had a lot of trauma associated with it, a lot of punishment, a lot of strictness that someone shouldn't really grow up around in that sort of environment. So I believe he would probably have a lot of deep, dark emotions buried inside him that a ring like this could bring out of him. I think out of all of them, the ultraviolet lantern core, it's not like super like fitting like a scorpion with rage or anything, but I believe if you're going to give him a lantern ring, I think that's the one to go with.
Liu Kang.
The main character of Mortal Kombat, and when you have a main protagonist or main hero archetype, the rings that are for them are pretty clear most of the time. It's always usually the Green Lantern Core of Willpower or the Blue Lantern Core of Hope. And this is one of those cases because Liu Kang definitely has both of these, but which one is he more prominent in? Well, the problem is that, at least in my opinion, these are way too similar to be counted as two different emotional teams or whatever. I mean, comparing the two, the differences I can think of is that I guess willpower is a bit more physical, like you're actually going through the perseverance, whereas hope is a bit more mental, and it's like, this will get better, this will work out, or whatever like that. Also, I guess, just in terms of the Lantern Cores themselves, Blue Lantern Core is a bit more about instilling hope, whereas Green Lantern Core is a bit more personal. It's about having hope, or not really hope, but like, you know, willpower within yourself. But those are still really minor differences, so for Liu Kang, I mean, he has both of these things. He has a lot of that mental hope, but he also has a lot of the physical willpower to go through these things. I mean, Mortal Kombat 1, he had to go through an entire tournament, beat a bunch of people, and then beat the champion of Mortal Kombat for, what, the past 500 years, who had beat the great Kung Lao, a legend. So, you know, a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He went through it. The Mortal Kombat 2, they didn't even know a tournament was happening, but Shao Kahn forced it to happen, and so he went through that in the moment and managed to beat the Emperor of Outworld. Okay, so still a lot of perseverance. Mortal Kombat 3, and a whole invasion happening. And he got through all of it and then beat Shao Kahn again. And then Mortal Kombat 4, he fights a fallen elder god. It's actually kind of ridiculous how much perseverance he has, but which one does he belong to? Now, if he was persevering through all of this by himself, just as the sole main character, without any help, persevering through all of it, I would definitely give him willpower. But the fact that Mortal Kombat is all about the relationships and the factions and the teams and the relationships within those teams, between the characters, I think you have to give him the Blue Lantern Core of Hope, because not only is he able to instill hope in the Earthrealmers that he fights alongside, but he's able to do it within the entirety of Earthrealm, because after he beats Goro, he becomes the savior of Earthrealm, the champion, and a symbol of hope for the people. So I think you have to give it to the Blue Lantern Corps of Hope for Liu Kang, but really, he qualifies for both of these. He is just barely, in my opinion, more qualified for the Blue Lantern Corps. He could definitely be in the Green Lantern Corps as well, and other than that, I don't think there's really any that he can qualify for.
Raiden.
The Thunder God, the protector of Earthrealm. And I think this is another one where hope is a big contender for him because he's able to instill hope in the different Earthrealmers in different ways. So for Johnny Cage, he's going to encourage him in a different way than he would for Sonya and Liu Kang. And the fact that he's just able to do that, he's able to know how to get these characters persevering through their struggles in different ways specifically for them. I feel like that makes him a huge contender for the Blue Lantern Ring of Hope. And just the fact that he is the god, the protector of Earthrealm, a lot of people are going to see hope in him and see him as, well, their protector. And it's very tight, but I wouldn't actually give Raiden the Blue Lantern Corps of Hope. I would actually give him the Indigo Lantern Corps of Compassion, because do you realize how compassionate you have to be? To be a god. You know, you could just like sit up there in the clouds looking down all the basically ants that are us people to a god. You realize how compassionate you have to be to, instead of just sitting there looking down at us being like, haha, puny little humans, he comes down and he makes a personal effort to make sure that these people are the best that they can possibly be and that he cares about them. That's the main thing, is that Raiden cares about people that realistically he doesn't have to care about whatsoever. And the other gods, they don't care about us, which is why we never see them. We only ever see Raiden and Fujin. You know, the fact that Raiden is able to stand out above the rest, yes, Fujin does similar stuff, but it's mainly Raiden that stands out above the rest and is able to actually be compassionate with these puny little creatures to him. It is kind of crazy, because there's people in real life with a sliver of Raiden's power, and they just don't care about the people that probably brought them to the position that they are in. And that's why fictional worlds and fictional characters exist, to give us an escape from the realities of our harsh and uncaring world. Yeah.
Johnny Cage.
Now this one's an interesting one, because I feel like Johnny Cage is the first character who, even though they're a hero, could definitely have a more negative Lantern Ring, and my proposition for that negative Lantern Ring would be the Orange Lantern Ring of Avarice, because especially when he starts out, he is a very greedy person. He only cares about the money, he only cares about the fame, he's a Hollywood douche, he doesn't really care about anyone other than himself. He goes to the Mortal Kombat tournament wanting to prove himself as a real fighter, so, you know, he's like Dylan Dennis up in here. But the thing is with Johnny Cage is that over time he does change. So as a character, I feel like he's grown out of this ring. So we're back to the positive stuff. Alright guys, hear me out here. This isn't a joke. I'm not playing with you guys. Just hear me out. The Violet Lantern Corps of Love. I'm not saying this just because like he has a bunch of ex-wives or whatever. No. In Mortal Kombat X, it literally says that whenever he sees someone he loves about to die, that's when his powers come out, or that's at least when his powers super power up and he's able to beat elder gods and stuff like that. So clearly, not only is his abilities probably powered by love, but his will to fight is probably powered by love. So clearly, it's a center stone of his character. He makes sense. It makes sense. It's literally what the game says, okay? So you can't get mad at me. You can't get mad at me. All right? It's what the game says. I'm just being the logical one here. All right? I'm just being the logical one here and taking what the game says. I don't like MKX, alright? I don't like MKX. I agree, it's stupid. It's a stupid concept. But it makes sense for this video's purposes. So, I think you have to give him the Violet Lantern Corps of Love.
Sonya.
Alright, this one's complicated. I really don't feel like Sonya fits any of the Lantern Corps that we have. I mean, you know, compassion maybe, because, you know, in order to go out of your way to protect people, you have to have some amount of compassion, but I still feel like it's not like a super prominent part of her character in her heart. Some people might even say rage, because, you know, she does want revenge against Kano, and she does seem a bit irritable in a lot of different medias, so maybe, I guess, like, if you had to choose one, I feel like willpower would have to be the one to go with, though, right? Because, you know, her whole thing is that she has this one goal. She's going to get to it because Like, that's just what her mind is set to, and that's capturing Kano. Yes, it's partly revenge based because, you know, Kano killed her partner or whatever, but I still feel like it's more so the want, the drive to do the right thing, more so than the whole revenge and righting a wrong or like lashing out at the world or being rageful. I don't really think it's that sort of thing. I think it's just wanting to capture him because it's the right thing to do, and she doesn't want other people to get hurt. And so the fact that she's able to go through thick and thin in order to do that, you know, jumping on random nether ships to who knows where, God knows where, to just do that, to go through the entire Mortal Kombat tournament just to get to Kano. I mean, yes, along the way, she does realize the importance of it, but the fact is that she still goes through all of it initially to get to Kano, and her goal is still there throughout the entire series up until, like, what, Deadly Alliance? Is that when she finally gets Kano? And even after that, with the rebooted timeline, she still tries to get to Kano, but then she dies, so, you know. But then the past version of her comes back and kills Kano, so it all works out in the end.
Kano.
Alright, now we got Kano. Avarice, it's Avarice. Let's move on.
Goro.
Alright, now we got Goro. So, the problem with Goro is the fact that he doesn't really have much of a personality that we've seen in the actual games. We've heard descriptions of what his personality might be like, we've seen little cutscenes, but overall we don't really know what Goro is all about. We don't really know his true motivations. We know he's just a very prideful person. In fact, there was a pride ring, which would probably just be all the colors. Get it? But no, I mean like prideful as in like having a high account of yourself. But if there was that ring, then I feel like he would fit into that. Maybe Avarice kind of fits under that umbrella, but I don't really think so. I feel like that's more so just like not caring about other people, not just like thinking you're awesome. It is a difference, all right? There's a difference between thinking you're awesome and thinking everyone else sucks and you're the only one that's awesome. If I had to choose one, I guess Fear, because he does instill a lot of fear in mainly the Earthrealmers, because, you know, killed the great Kung Lao, which was thought to be the best fighter of his time, and then went on like a 9 tournament winning streak, and, you know, he was a very scary person until he lost to Liu Kang, and then, you know, people stopped caring about him because that's the way the world works. So yeah, really, I can't really think of anything to pinpoint on Goro because we don't really know that much about him, but if I had to go with one, it would have to be the Fear Lantern Ring. Although I'm pretty sure he does have like 7 wives.
Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung. Now, Shang Tsung actually has quite a few that you could give him. One is one that we talked about earlier, the Black Lantern Core of Death. Not only has Shang Tsung died before, but he also is obsessed with death. He loves sucking people's souls out of their body and leaving them as mindless husks. Compassion is another one. He has no compassion at all, so this ring could overtake his mind and make him compassionate because that's the way people should be. Am I right, guys? Yeah. So, you know, he doesn't really care about anyone else other than just himself. So he will backstab people. He will betray people. He doesn't really give it a second thought. And the only reason he would ever try to connect with a person is so that he can get what he wants later on. Fear is another one. He's a very powerful person, so people just naturally really fear him because of the things that he's able to do to manipulate people, and the fact that, you know, you never know. If you ever are forced to work with Shang Tsung, you will never know when he's going to betray you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he's going to betray you. He will do it at some point, and even characters like Raiden who go, we will know, we will be prepared for when you betray us. Shang Tsung finds ways to betray you when you're least expecting it, even if you're expecting it. But all of these that I've talked about so far really only serve one purpose, and that is for Shang Tsung himself. The Death Lantern Ring gives him all the souls so that he can get more powerful for himself. Compassion. He doesn't care about anyone else other than himself. Fear. He manipulates people. He is able to use the fear against them in order to get what he wants, and that's why I think the Avarice Lantern Core, the Orange Lantern Core, is by far the one that you should go with for Shang Tsung, because everything that I've just described so far, and the fact that he's also just slowly gaining power over time. He uses all his different mental techniques, his manipulations of people, everything to just slowly gain power over time, all for himself. And it's super, super cool to see in specifically the original timeline as well as Mortal Kombat Aftermath. Yeah, avarice for Shang Tsung.
Reptile.
And then finally, we have the secret character from the first Mortal Kombat game, the first ever secret character in, I think, all of fighting games, Reptile. Another complicated one. We don't really have one that really sticks out for Reptile. I think this is the first villain character where I don't think any of the negative rings really fit him. Like, he's not rageful. He's not someone that people fear. He's not, like, obsessed with death or anything. He's not really that greedy. Compassion he could have gotten if it wasn't for the fact that he does work with a lot of villains and does hurt and kill a lot of people and tries to get Outworld to merge with Earthrealm and all that stuff. And so I feel like if he was more compassionate, he wouldn't allow himself to mentally be able to do those things just for the fact that he wants his species back. With yes, it is a compassionate thing to want, is to want your entire people back. But to be able to hurt these other people just for that goal, I feel like you can give him compassion for that. But obviously he doesn't have no compassion either, or else he just wouldn't care about his species. Love? I mean, if Chameleon exists, then, you know, there's only really one way to restore a species. That's all I'm gonna say. And then I land on hope. And I think this one is the one to go with for Reptile, because if you really think about it, he has gone through everything. He has worked with these evil people that he doesn't really want to work with. All of these Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, Shinnok even, and probably goes through very punishing stuff in order to work with these people, and, you know, kills people, hurts them, all of it just because of the sliver of hope that they give him by saying, we will restore your species if you do this, if you do that. Because of that small sliver of hope that Reptile has that just overpowers everything. And so the fact that that little tiny piece of hope that realistically these awful people are just going to portray him and probably put him in an even worse position, the fact that he still has that little hope and it just overpowers everything else and that's all he cares about, I think gives him the hope lantern ring. It's a irrational amount of hope, and it's probably not a healthy amount of hope that you should have. Yeah, so it's not a good thing or anything, but he does have a lot of hope. And that's it for this video in terms of Mortal Kombat, but there's one more person whose Lantern Core I want to find out, and that is me, the uncommon oddity. Alright. Life? I mean, I don't know. In order to be a part of life, you have to have mastered all the emotions, and I feel like I haven't done that. Black? No. I'm not really that obsessed with death. I don't really like it that much. And as far as I'm aware, I haven't died before. So, yeah, no. Compassion? I mean, I'd say I'm a compassionate person, but, like, I don't know if it's, like, that overpowering beyond every other emotion I have. I mean, you know, I think I have the normal amount of human compassion. Green Lantern? Willpower? I mean, I'm a bit biased because Green Lantern's my favorite superhero, Hal Jordan. So I would go with this one for myself. I'll wear it on my finger. And I think I do have willpower. I will never quit something because it's hard. The only time I'll ever quit something if it's boring, because I don't like being bored. Hope? I mean, yeah, sometimes I have too much hope in things, you know, kind of connected to the willpower. Sometimes I will continue doing things that probably I shouldn't do because I have hope for it. Hope, yeah, I think willpower is better though. Love, definitely not. Absolutely not. I have negative riz, okay. Rage? Not really. I mean, I don't really get angry that much. What the fuck? I never really have any sort of desire to hurt people. And overall, I just don't have that much hate in my heart. Oh yeah. Avarice, no. I'm like super not greedy. I mean, I have a high account of myself, so you know, that pride lantern ring that I mentioned earlier, maybe that. But I wouldn't say I'm greedy. I definitely care about what other people want and try to help them get those goals and stuff. Fear? I mean, if you're scared of me, if you're intimidated by me, then you're just an absolute that's all it really is. And then there's ultraviolet. Yeah, no. I don't know if this is gonna sound douchey or whatever, but I haven't really been through that much trauma in life, so I don't think I really qualify. I have no bottled up deep down emotions. What are you talking about? And yeah, make sure to check out the links in the description to my Mortal Kombat Retold podcast, my merch store, my Twitter, and my Instagram. Also, make sure to give this video a like, Green Lantern ring, yeah, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and with that being said, that's it for this video. I have a lot of these. I'll see you next time.